Just keep paddling, just keep paddling, just keep paddling.
Welcome back to 340 Paddler, and you have made it to Jeff City. You're over halfway through the race. Now let's get you the rest of the way. And a note, this is a longer piece. These videos, these last two videos, are going to be more detailed. The reason is the paddlers are not thinking clearly. That's going to be an understatement. Ground crews, you'll understand why later. And secondly, I'm going to pay more attention to the ground crews because the roads are squirrelier, you have a lot more going on, you're sleep deprived, so any piece of information is going to be useful to you, especially as we move into the later part of the race. So let's move on. First, leaving Jeff City. Now you would think that this would actually be fairly easy. After all, the channel should be right off the checkpoint, but it's not quite that easy. This is a massive eddy right in here. So a lot of people, if you're bypassing and you're staying on the river, you're actually way out here. So let's take a look on a map. As you're leaving Jeff City, here is the checkpoint. You would notice that the channel actually is mid-river here and then is going to move slowly over to the opposite bank, river right. And you can see those control structures that lay that out really well. Really, you want to be across the river by the time you pass the Capitol, which is a pretty good landmark to use from the paddler's perspective. So make sure that you're slowly moving to the opposite side. This is also a reason why some paddlers will use Hartsburg and skip Jeff City entirely, because Jeff City is just far enough off to be to take up a little extra time. That time that it takes to run from the channel off to Wilson Serenity Point and then back into the channel. But the good news is boredom's going to be your friend, because from Jeff City, right over here, to Chamois, which is, well, right here, you see it is very straight. In fact, there's about 4 curves in the river. You're just going to constantly be going more or less straight. Sometimes, like in here, it kind of goes back and forth, but that's not too big of a deal. You'll also notice that Mocaine is on river left, Chamois is on river right. I should point out, you need to pick which side you want your ground crew to go to. They cannot go to both. You'll notice there is no bridge from Jeff City all the way to Herman. So they can't cross from Mocaine to Chamois without going back to Jeff City or going up to Herman. One other fun thing to keep in mind, the Osage River enters the Missouri right about here. That's a fun little confluence. You'll see the more clear water of the Osage mixing with the Missouri River water. If you happen to be staring down at it, it's a little bit trippy at this point in the race. Something to look forward to. So, if you're going to stop at Mocaine, this is on the same side as Jeff City. It's an easy drive to get there. Chamois is just as easy of a drive. You just cross over, I think that's the Highway 54 or 63 bridge in Jefferson City, and then you're going to go across that way. Mocaine has nothing at this boat ramp. There's not a bathroom. There's basically a big gravel parking lot. This is convenient because very few ground crews will stop here, so if you want to sleep very restfully, Mocaine is a great place to do it. You're not going to be disturbed. That being said, again, once you leave Mocaine, you're pretty much on your way to Herman. You can't really expect to meet your ground crew at Chamois 8 miles downriver. And Mocaine is on the channel side. You're going to be crossing right in front of it as you head downriver. Now, there's also Chamois, which is about 26, 28 miles downriver. I want you to note, and this is in a little bit of a high water year, but there is a wing dike that runs this length up to nearly the boat ramp. Make sure you don't cross over that if it's a high water year. It's very turbulent. You can't always see the tops of the rocks, and you don't want to sink your boat there at Chamois. But that being said, Chamois is a wonderful place to stop, and let me tell you exactly why. When you come into Chamois, here's the boat ramp looking down at the river. This is a massive park. There is a playground, there's a baseball diamond, there's a huge pavilion, there's showers, there are bathrooms, there's electricity. Honestly, if you're going to sleep somewhere, this would be a roughly night 2, night 3, Chamois is a great place to do it. You won't be disturbed. There aren't trains very close by. I mean, you'll hear them, but they're not incredibly close. Everything you need is here at the ramp. And the ability to shower is fantastic. Glasgow, you can shower. Chamois also has showers. And Chamois generally has hot water every time I've ever showered there. So fantastic place to stop. Your ground crew will thank you if you plan on this. But from Chamois, you're going to be coming into Herman, roughly some odd miles later, about 20 miles from Chamois. Herman is known for 2 things: passed out paddlers on the boat ramp, which is why you're going to be very careful driving around, and sausages. Why sausages? Well, 2 reasons. One I'll get to later, but the other one, for some reason, in the 7 years I've done the 340, I have to stop and get a brat at Herman. I get the brat, I put mustard on it, I put sauerkraut on it, and I love it. I would marry this brat if I could. I don't know why. I need to have a can of Pepsi and a brat. I could come in unable to keep any other solid food down, and that brat will be the best thing I will eat the entire race. I don't know if they put cocaine in the brats, but if they do, it's the best cocaine-infused brat I have ever had. The Boy Scouts do something to them. They are amazing. Now, couple of things to keep in mind with Herman as you're paddling in. First of all, you will see this bridge for 5 miles before you get to it. It will irritate you. You will swear at it. The bridge never did anything to you. Leave it alone. But keep in mind, you're going to be tempted to go through this first span of the bridge. The problem is there are control structures, especially on the far right side coming off as you pass under. Now, in a high water year, that may not matter, but in a lower water year, that will cause issues. So try and come through the second span. I know it's irritating. It's a little bit further you have to cut across, but trust me, do it. It will make your life a lot easier, and stay away from the bridge pier. Now, Herman is unusual because here's the boat ramp, and you'll notice there are 2 ramps. There's the upriver ramp and the downriver ramp. This is the only place where you can portage in the 340. I would highly recommend that you come in the upriver ramp and then you carry your boat around and exit by the downriver ramp. The reason is this pier in the middle. Now, this walkway is beautiful. I'm sure it's stunning sunsets or whatever else. But in high water, it creates a horrific rapid right here. And if you try and come off this boat ramp and go around it, you're going to hit it. And I did that in about 2016, somewhere in there. It was a fairly high water year. I came off, I hit it. I nearly capsized there. Had I capsized, there's nothing anyone can do for me. And I filled the surf ski with water. It was not exactly a great experience. By the way, one other thing I want to point out. If you happen to be here during daylight hours, if you go 1 block from the boat ramp, you'll find Main Street in Herman. There's a great ice cream parlor, but there's also the Worst House, which is fantastic sausage. They have all sorts of homemade brats. They have all sorts of homemade food. It's really great. It's not that expensive. You can get stuff to go. Fantastic German food. And being from Milwaukee, trust me, this is amazing stuff. So if you get the chance, stop. If you're ground crew, stop here at the Worst House. So you're leaving Herman. 2 things you should know. First of all, that road you drove from Chamois to Herman, All the roads are like that from this point forward. They're all curvy and nasty and gnarly. So if your ground crew, get a little bit of sleep, or like my wife, make sure that your blood is 25% caffeine. And the other 25% is Starbucks. And whatever else makes up the rest of it. So the roads will be gnarly. Keep that in mind. If you're a paddler, you will probably push off from Herman on an average year, probably night 3. Sometime around 6 to 8 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. You can sleep at Herman. That's perfectly fine. But this is where hallucinations tend to start setting in, which is why I'm going into more detail. So let's talk about Burger Bend. This is 9 miles from Herman. And we are actually looking upriver. So you're going to be coming down. Herman is up here. So you're coming down river. The first thing you're going to come across is you're coming down this straight and you're going to start hearing noise, rushing water. That's actually a control structure on the other side, which blocks the Missouri River from cutting around the wrong side of this island. Ignore that. The river does not actually split in a way that you want to follow. Just keep following the outside of the bend as you come across. But the tricky part is actually, well, down this way. And I want to look at a navigational chart. So that last picture was looking up towards the lower left here. Here's that island. And as you come through Burger Bend, you need to keep as far outside as possible. There will be a series of green can buoys in here to watch out for. And Burger Bend has a special place somewhere near my spleen or liver because I hate it. I hit, my first year, 2012, I hit this wing dike. I don't know how. I hit this sandbar. I do know how because I wasn't paying attention. I thought I was in the middle of the river and I thought the sandbar went all the way across. I also hit this wing dike here and this wing dike here. And you say, how did you hit multiple wing dikes going through Burger Bend, much less on different sides? And the answer is, I was trying to stay in the middle of the river, but I couldn't figure out where the middle of the river actually was. So that caused rather a bit of issue. You need to be careful through Burger Bend. Use your ears coming through. The bend itself, you're watching for those can buoys. You do not want to hit a can buoy. Trust me, they're 6 feet tall. They weigh a ton. Literally, you don't want to hit them. Coming out of Burger Bend, it's going to look like a big straight. It's not. Basically, stay between, use your ears as you paddle and stay between the wing dikes and control structures as you move through. Honestly, if you just kind of take a center line, you'll probably be fine. If it's a moonlit night, watch the reflection of the moon in front of you and make sure you don't see something in it. I personally don't use lights for this race because I'd rather have the night vision for cases like this. I have hit Burger Bend during the day. It's very beautiful during the day, but to be honest, it's a little bit terrifying in the middle of the night, especially if you're a rookie. This brings us to New Haven, 18 miles in. New Haven is a beautiful town. From the riverside, it looks stunning. It looks like something out of Stepford Wives, but it has a boat ramp that a lot of people try to get to and no one ever actually does. Here's the problem. Look at the river as you come in. First of all, I should point out there's a giant sandbar that's usually up here. This is a high water year that they took this last satellite image. So you're going to come in. There's a house here. You kind of aim for the house. And then you come across in front of New Haven, which would be fine, except you have this series of control structures here and here and here. And they're actually on the other side of the river too. And as you come through, you're looking for a boat ramp, which you would think would be somewhere in the middle of town. But in fact, by the time you get here, you're convinced there is no boat ramp. All is lost and you're going to Washington. Let's play Where's the Boat Ramp? The answer is, oh, can you see it? It's right there. This boat ramp, in 7 years of running the 340, I have only managed to successfully get to twice. Beautiful place. There's a bathroom up here. There's a nice little park area. You could, pitch a tent. There's plenty of parking, but it's just really difficult to get to when you're exhausted on the river. And there's a control structure, a wing dike that comes off of it. It looks like an old wooden pier. And one year, I believe it was 2016, my ground crew actually put glow sticks on some of the wooden piers and rocks here to let me know where things were, and it actually caused me to hallucinate and do everything I could to get away from it. In 2012, when I hit all those wing dikes, we couldn't find, myself and Doug, a guy I was paddling with, couldn't find the boat ramp and just kind of floated past. It was a miserable experience. So, New Haven is fantastic if you can get there. Washington, trust me, you won't miss Washington. You will see it for a few miles before you get there. And Washington's boat ramp looks like this. I should point out the current is running right along the boat ramp. So if you get into trouble here, if you're going to get into trouble, it will be at Washington. And if you do, you run the risk of going around this corner and downriver. So when you come in, there's a pier that actually juts out here, and there's a little eddy. You're going to come in and you have to aim for this right side because the channel is actually going to run you across. You'll probably end up landing somewhere in the middle, moving sideways in relation to the ground. So something to keep in mind. You only really get one kick at the cat at Washington. And I have watched people capsize here. It isn't pretty. Just be careful coming in. If you aim for that upriver right-hand side, you should be okay. And you'll be coming from across the river, following the channel. So just stay in the channel and you should be all right. At night, it looks something like this. Obviously, this is from the opposite direction. When you are coming in, you will see all these lights and all these structures, and they will cause you to hallucinate. I and many other people have hallucinated coming into Washington. I was convinced that the bridge at Washington was too low to get under, and that there was a wall, and it might be a toll bridge. It was a difficult year. It was 2012. The same year, by the way, a couple of people came in, a couple of paddlers, and one guy got out of the boat, the other one got back in the boat, crossed over the river, and climbed the levee and went across some cornfields, basically looking for the hotel. He was done with the race. So Washington can be a rather interesting place. Now, once you're in Washington, you will find Riverside Park, or Riverfront Park, which is stunning. It has a massive pavilion. It has bathrooms. It's a great place to stop. Keep in mind, there are trains, just like at Herman, that will run through every 20 minutes. Although at this point in the race, it really won't matter. You can sleep wherever the heck you want. An atom bomb could go off next to you, but we'll leave Weldon Springs out of it. So one other thing I should point out, because I just want to point out for your ground crew, there's a place in town called Street Side Tacos, open fairly late, maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night. Amazing tacos. I have stopped there a couple of times, always with Scott Reeves for some reason, and great food. It's right across from Riverfront Park on the main street. It's cheap. They'll do things takeout. Highly recommended. So, from Washington, you're on to Klondike. Klondike is 42 miles from Herman, or 12 miles from Washington. And by the way, you'll see these smokestacks for about 10 miles before you get to Klondike. And then you'll have to go a little bit past them. Good times. Now, Klondike, the channel's actually on the opposite side, and then it will make an approach towards the boat ramp. And the boat ramp is on the channel side. This is fantastic, except for one little issue. If you look up river, you see there's a whole bunch of control structures. Here, here, here. There's a little island. In high water, none of this matters. In low water, these will rip up your boat. And it's really late in the race to go doing something like that. So take a bit of an outside line as you come into Klondike. So in the next video, we will finish the race. We will go from Klondike to St. Charles in more detail than we probably need to. But until then, this is 340 Paddler, hoping that you keep your paddle in the water.